Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this video is about a question that I was asked by one of my colleagues who asked me if in a given situation you receive a job offer from another employer and basically should you go ahead and ask your current employer for better conditions or even to match the offer that you received from this other company in an attempt to try to keep you and stay in your current position. And it's a tricky situation. It's a very sensitive one. There is no one size fits all answer. However, I think because I already have several years of work experience under my belt, I already dealt with many different employers across many different countries. I think I can provide a valuable opinion, and this can be helpful to everyone, and especially for my followers who may be in the same sort of situation at some point in the future. And so basically, I think that the first variable or the first detail that we need to ask ourselves is that, all right, before you decide on whether you should ask your employer to improve your current employment conditions as a result of having received a job offer from another company, I think there is one particular aspect that needs to be considered, which is basically the fact that, all right, at the previous occasion, have you asked for better conditions to your current employer? For example, during a performance review, or for example, your contract expired, it's going to be renewed. Did you took that opportunity to ask for better conditions for your current contract, for your new contract rather? And so if you have done so, uh, it might pertain to ask yourself, all right, this request that you made, was it granted or it was not granted? If it was granted and you got better conditions when you ask for them, there is no reason there is no reason whatsoever for you to ask your employer to match the conditions again, just because you got another job offer. You already have improved conditions, and in most cases your employer gave you the best conditions that he could offer or that he thinks that you deserve. So asking for another improvement is just going to, in my view, making you look bad, look somewhat greedy, and you're better off just making the decision to stay or to leave, considering the current conditions that you have. Now, if you went ahead, you requested an improvement of your conditions, but it was refused, then there is no reason also or there's no point in asking again for better conditions, because you already took your chance. Your employer most likely is giving you the conditions that he thinks that you deserve, and it's either this or he can simply not give you. He's unable. He doesn't have there is no budget to give you better conditions. And so again, it's better not to put the pressure on, and you're better off just making the decision whether to stay or leave again, considering the current conditions that you have. Otherwise, you're going to put additional pressure on him, and not in a good way. I think it's also very likely that if you put out this request again, this may create some resentment between both of you, and this is not good, because at the end of the day, you never know what's going to happen in the future, and by doing so, you may burn any bridges that you may have in your favor, in case you want to, at some point in the future, come back and work for him. And so try to avoid this and just make the decision based on your current conditions and the conditions of the job offer that you received. Now, with this point out of the way, uh, and of course diving into the actual situation, being straightforward as possible, I think under most circumstances, asking your employer to match the job offer that you received. I think it's a lose lose situation, both for you as an employee and also for your employer as well. And there are several reasons why this is the case. Now, to explain those reasons, let's just assume some scenarios here. In the first scenario, for example, you ask your employer to match the conditions of your job offer, and by chance, your employer says, "Yes, I will match your job offer because, yeah, I just want you to stay in the company." All right, this looks good. From your perspective, it looks good, and on one hand, you may be better off because you got better conditions than the ones that you had, and you would not have those if you didn't ask for it. However, I think that is very likely that because you got better conditions and because it's a fact of human interaction that when you make a concession or you get a concession, you enact a similar behavior or a similar action from the other person. And so, because he got this concession to you, he gave you better conditions. It's very likely that you will be under a bigger scrutiny from your employer to basically to reciprocate the concession that he gave to you. And so this means that um, not only you will be expected to step up and deliver your best possible performance at all times, but also if you cannot deliver on those expectations, your employer most likely will call you out by the time, for example, your performance review comes around. So he gave you better conditions, but he will expect that you will perform at least as good or even better than you did previously. And this is not a very comfortable situation to be in, especially on a daily basis, because you will be under more stress to perform day in and day out. And of course, this also already compounds on top of all the stress that your job must already entail. And so this is sort of this as is a downside that I think that should be taken seriously. Now, from your employer's perspective, I think this is also a bad situation, and especially bad because if he agrees to match the job offer that you got, or even if it does not, it's not even a match, but if it is, for example, an improvement of the situation of your conditions, he opens up a big precedent, and this may come back to bite him later on. And why is that? Because if other employees later on ask him later to also improve their respective contractual conditions, um, and of course assuming that all employees perform their duties equally well as expected, he will be under much bigger pressure from a moral and a fairness, especially fairness perspective, to also grant those employees the same concessions. Now, as we all know, the vast majority of employers simply cannot handle the increased costs that come with giving all the employees what they are asking for. And because of that, you already opened a precedent for one employee, and so they will be at a huge risk to be unfair to other employees, and that risk is far too serious for any employer to take, because that means that the work environment is likely to become seriously compromised, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about fairness, you see. And so many employees, the employees that asked for better conditions but didn't get ones, will be unhappy. Staff turnover is likely also to increase in a big way. And so this situation is something that employees cannot afford to be in. And so that's why it's a lose-lose situation in this scenario, and yeah, for sure, they will not put themselves into such position. Now, another scenario is, for example, if you ask your employer to match the conditions of your job offer, but your employer says no, and yeah, and it simply refuses to match it. In this case, from your perspective, there's not much to say. You did not get anything out of your attempt, and so yeah, it might as well not having done it at all in the first place. Now, and also from your employer's perspective, I think that also it's not also good because he may get the impression that you are being either disloyal or selfish because you are trying to create an auction or a bidding war for your own benefit. And so, yeah, and by doing so, by establishing a bidding war, uh, you are basically trying to make a decision based solely on who gives me the most money, basically, or who gives me the best conditions overall. And so I think this is especially the case if you ask him to match the conditions instead of just asking him if it's possible to improve your conditions. And so, in other words, I think this action is likely also to make you look bad, just as I mentioned previously, and you may end up burning your bridges if you would ever want to return to work for your current employer again. And so, having described these scenarios, I strongly believe that the best course of action is simply to make the decision assuming your current conditions, and then, assuming you make your decision, you are transparent and you just disclose it, openly announce to your employer. Now, one thing that you can do if you still would like to give your employer the opportunity to make an effort, give him a chance to keep you by offering you some sort of improvement of your current conditions, you can come up to him and simply start by saying that, all right, I decided to leave the company because you simply not feel that your efforts and the value that you bring to the company or to the business are sufficiently recognized. Now, if you say this, you are still telling the truth because otherwise you would not get involved in the recruitment process to leave the job, to leave your current company in the first place. But you are also giving the opportunity, your employer, the chance to make an attempt to keep you because you didn't say anything about, oh, I already got another offer or I just accepted another offer. So this is a hint or this is a cue that you can give your employer, and if he feels compelled to do so because he likes you, because he really, really wants to keep you, he may make an attempt to keep you by giving you or offering you better conditions. However, if even in this situation he does not do it, he still does not offer to improve your current conditions, and of course that means that he is not making any attempt to keep you. Uh, then you have the confirmation right there that there is nothing that you can do to improve your position in your current job, and so you might as well take the new job offer and leave if you really want to get better conditions. And so, yeah, this is the main takeaway that I think you should take from this video. And of course, it's always a tricky situation, as I mentioned. There is no one size fits all. This is a good ballpark for you to consider and for you to act in most cases. But of course, there will always be exceptions. But I think this gives you a good idea of how to proceed in these tricky situations because at the end of the day, we are dealing with people, and sometimes some sensitivities come into play, and that's also always a tricky prospect. But yeah, hopefully this helps you out, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.